You looked fine. That's the part people remember. You answered the question. You smiled at the right time. You kept your voice even. You made eye contact. You didn't cry. You didn't yell. You didn't leave. On the outside, you handled the moment. You looked calm. Then you got in the car and sat there with your hands on the wheel, completely drained. Or you got home and snapped at someone who had nothing to do with it. Or you closed the door and felt your whole body finally release what it had been holding back for hours. And if someone had asked you what happened, you might not have known what to say. Nothing happened. That's what makes it so hard to explain. The meeting was fine. The dinner was fine. You were fine. Except there was something underneath that wasn't. You were performing fine. That is not the same thing. This is one of the mistakes we make about people all the time. We look at the outside, at the behavior, and assume we know what it costs to produce. Someone looks calm, so we say they're regulated. Someone makes eye contact, so we assume attention is easy. Someone gets through the day, so we assume the day was manageable. But the behavior is only the output. You can't read what the regulation cost from the output alone. And the route matters, because the same behavior can come from completely different places. A calm voice can come from an actual calm body, or it can come from a panicked body using everything it has to perform. A smile can come from warmth, or from fear of what happens if the warmth goes missing. An apology can come from real openness, or from terror of abandonment. The outside can look almost the same. The inside is not the same at all. That's the whole idea. A behavior is not just what it looks like. A behavior is the route the organism had to use to produce it. And some routes are cheap. Others bill you later. Think of a person who is actually calm. The body has enough safety, enough margin, enough access to the moment. Their voice softens with effort. Their face responds on its own. The behavior emerges from the state. Think of a person who is not calm at all, but has to look calm. They're watching their tone, watching their face, watching the other person's reaction, suppressing the sentence they want to say, forcing the breath down, trying not to seem angry, needy, awkward, dramatic, cold, unstable, unsafe. The person may produce the same visible behavior, but they're not using the same route. One is regulated, the other is performing regulation. The difference is invisible to the room. It is not invisible to the body. The body knows the bill. This is why holding it together can be so exhausting. It is not nothing. It is active work, inhibiting, monitoring, suppressing. The mind running a second version of the moment on top of the moment itself. What did my face just do? Was it too much? Am I talking too fast? Do they think I'm angry? Should I smile now? How long do I look at them? What do normal people do with their hands? We treat this exhaustion as a character flaw because we refuse to treat biology as a budget. The kind of performance may succeed. That's the strange part. The room may accept it. The meeting continues. The person across from you may never know anything happened. But success is not the same as ease. You did it is not the same as it didn't cost you. This is where masking comes in. Masking is often discussed in relation to autism and neurodivergence, and for good reason. Researchers study autistic camouflaging as the effort to hide, suppress, compensate for, or perform around traits a neurotypical world might judge. You know what it is to perform a state you're in, to keep the outside acceptable while the inside is doing something else. Now imagine it's not one meeting, not one dinner, not one hard conversation. Imagine it's the price of being read as respectful, the price of being taken seriously, the price of entering a classroom, an office, a date, a job interview, the world. For one person, eye contact is just eye contact. For another, it's a manual operation, looking enough to seem engaged, not so long that it turns intense, looking away at the right moment, keeping listening through all of it. For one person, sitting still is easy. For another, it's suppressing the body's own attempt to regulate itself. For one person, small talk is light. For another, it's improvisational theater with hidden rules. That's the bridge I think we need. Everyone masks sometimes. Not everyone has to perform a nervous system they do not have. That distinction matters. If we say everyone masks and stop there, we flatten the people for whom masking isn't occasional. It's not just a social polish, but a survival strategy. We turn a life tax into a relatable inconvenience. But if we say only some people mask, we miss the mechanism that could help more people understand it. The truth is more precise. Everyone knows some version of performance, but the frequency, the depth, the necessity, and the cost are not the same. There's a difference between acting confident in one interview and acting socially fluent every day. Between hiding a mood and hiding the interface your body naturally uses to exist. That's why "but you seemed fine" can be so painful. Sometimes "seemed fine" only means their performance worked. It did not mean the person was fine. It means the cost was successfully hidden from the people asking them to pay. This is not only a neurodivergence issue. It shows up everywhere humans are asked to produce a behavior the body cannot actually support. A customer service rep performs warmth while being mistreated. A child performs obedience while afraid. A parent performs patience after the real patience is gone. A grieving person performs normalcy because work doesn't know what to do with grief. The pattern is the same. The behavior is still demanded. The normal route is unavailable, so the system finds another route, performs the output, and everyone mistakes the output for the state itself. This is where a lot of harm lies, because once a person can produce the behavior, even once, the world decides the behavior is available. You didn't transcend your limits today. You borrowed against tomorrow, and the bill will come due. You seemed calm in the meeting. You did fine at the party. You held it together at work. So why not now? But that question ignores the route. It ignores whether the behavior came from ease or from override, whether it was cheap or expensive, whether it can be repeated tomorrow without collapse. So this is the mistake. The culture grades the output. The body pays for the route. And the body keeps the receipt. It may keep it as exhaustion, as insomnia, as numbness, as dread before the next social event, as the mysterious crash after nothing happened, as the sense that being normal is possible, but only if you disappear inside the performance. Research on camouflage and emotional labor points in this direction. Performing an emotion you don't feel, what some researchers call the surface acting, is linked with emotional exhaustion. Autistic camouflaging is measurable, and higher camouflaging is associated with anxiety, depression, stress, lower well-being, and in some studies, suicidality. That doesn't mean every case is simple, or that masking alone causes any of it. The causal direction is complicated. People may mask because they're already distressed. They may become distressed before they mask. Both can be true, in different people or at different points in the same life. But the association should make us careful, because when a behavior costs that much, we should stop treating the ability to perform it as proof that everything is fine. There's another idea from the autism research that matters here: the double empathy problem. The old story said autistic people have the communication deficit, but a growing body of work suggests the breakdown is often mutual. Autistic people may communicate easily with other autistic people, neurotypical people with other neurotypical people. The trouble intensifies across the interface when different nervous systems try to reach each other through different defaults. That changes the moral picture. The problem is not simply inside the autistic person. It is in the fit, the interface, the room. Because there is no neutral gear for a living system. So when a person has to mask constantly, the question shouldn't only be, why are they struggling? It should also be, what is the environment requiring them to perform? What kind of body language is treated as respect? What kind of voice is treated as intelligence? What kind of person is the room built to recognize? Because maybe the exhaustion is not proof the person is broken. Maybe it's information about the cost of translation. And translation is expensive. Anyone who has to code switch knows this. Anyone who has hidden grief at work knows this. Anyone who has been the only person like themselves in a room knows this. You can do it. Humans are incredibly adaptive. It's part of our genius. We route around what's unavailable, perform behaviors we don't feel, hold faces, modulate voices, imitate fluency, hide pain, and we get through it. Sometimes that adaptation is survival. Sometimes it's intelligence. Sometimes it's the only way a person can make it through the day. But adaptation is not the same as the absence of cost. And if a life requires too much adaptation for too long, the adaptation becomes the injury. That's why you look calm is not enough. The better question is, what route did calm take? Did it come from safety, or was it built out of fear? Was the person actually present, or spending everything to seem acceptable? This matters in families. It matters at work. It matters in relationships. It matters every time we confuse the successful performance of a behavior with the capacity to keep paying for it. The goal is not to tell people to stop masking. That would be naive. Masks exist for a reason. They protect people from real consequences. The goal is to stop pretending the mask is free, and then to ask the deeper question: where can we help it come off? Where can the environment change instead of the person having to perform harder? Where can calm stop being performed and start being possible? That's the human turn. Not to try harder to look fine, not to push through until the body breaks, but what would have to change so the right behavior could emerge from a less costly route? Because the best version of social life is not a world where everyone successfully performs regulation while privately drowning. It is a world where fewer people have to fake being okay in order to belong. So the next time someone looks calm, leave room for the invisible question. Maybe they are calm. Maybe the behavior is cheap today, and the system has the margin to produce it on its own. Or maybe they're looking at a costly performance. Every second of eye contact manually held, every quiet answer suppressing a louder body underneath. Maybe the person is not fine. Maybe they're just very good at producing the shape of fine. And if that person is you, listen carefully. The fact that you can perform the behavior does not mean the cost is imaginary. The exhaustion is data. The crash is data. The dread is data. The body is telling you something about the route. You looked calm. Maybe you were. Or maybe you spent the day building calm out of materials that were never meant to hold that much weight. Either way, the question matters. Not just what did you do, but what did it cost? Because a life cannot be measured only by what you successfully perform. It also has to be measured by what the performance takes from you. The culture grades the output. The body pays for the route. And the cost is real, even when nobody sees it.